Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Nerd Ledger. I'm Cage. I'm solo today. I'm going to talk about some news. The past couple weeks on Fridays, we've been podcasting, Cher and I, to talk about the Rings of Power. But it wasn't really filling up to it this week, so we'll cover episodes 5 and 6 next Friday. I don't know what we're gonna do yet about Agatha, cause that comes out Wednesday, and it would be way too jam packed, I think, to do it in one podcast with the Rings of Power. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if we just wait till the end of Agatha to talk about the entire series or not. I don't know. We'll see. But today I'm just going to talk about some nerd news. Nerd news, yeah. So, first of all, quick follow up. So, last time I talked about nerd news, I mentioned that it was rumored that Josh Brolin was being tapped to play Hal Jordan for the Green Lantern series. And the latest news is that he has turned down that offer. So Brolin, who is known for playing Thanos in the MCU, was being eyed to play Hal Jordan and James Gunn in Peter Safran's DCU. More specifically, Brolin had the opportunity to star in Lanterns, the forthcoming Green Lantern television series that will feature both Hal and Jon Stewart. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Brolin received an official offer to star in Lanterns near the end of August. However, he has decided to pass on it. There are no further details at this time. So yeah, there's that. And then, really, there's a bunch of news like this week. No, I don't want to disable. Okay. So X-Men news. Kelsey Grammer addresses MCU future as Beast. So there's a bunch of like news the past week or so of like so and so addressing if they're gonna return or if they think their role will be recast, such as James McAvoy's Professor X or Halle Berry's Storm, or a rumor that the script for X-Men, with the MCU doesn't have Hugh Jackman in it right now, like stuff like that. And it's like I don't really care much about that. The only reason like I'm reading this one is because we have seen Kelsey Grammer's Beast in the MCU. With the post-credit scene of the Marvels. So this is the only reason I'm going to read this article in particular. The Marvels likely won't be the last time fans see Kelsey Grammer's Beast in the MCU. Grammer first appeared as Hank McCoy, aka Beast, in X-Men The Last Stand, the final installment in 20th Century Fox's original X-Men trilogy. Is that true? I'm trying to think if that's true or not. Yeah, I think that's true. I don't remember seeing him in X2 at all. Like, I know he was an advisor to the president in one of them, but I guess that must have been The Last Stand. Okay, anyway. After Nicholas Hoult portrayed a younger version of Beast in 2011's X-Men First Class, the actors shared the role for 2014's X-Men Days of Future Past, with Grammer making a brief cameo as the older incarnation of the mutant in the closing moments of the movie. Days of Future Past marked Grammer's last appearance as the 20th Century Fox version of X-Men's Beast. In 2023, Grammer made a surprising cameo in the post-credit scene of the Captain Marvel sequel, The Marvels, playing a variant of Beast alongside Lashana Lynch as Binary. Grammer's return as Beast in The Marvels was well received by the fandom, with the actor revealing during a recent interview with comicbook.com that the response to his cameo prompted Marvel Studios to reach out about bringing him back again as the mutant. He said, "There's nothing I can talk about. What I do know is that there was a huge sort of outburst when I showed up at the end of the Marvels. I guess it was. The response was really almost, it wasn't expected. There'd be some response, but it was pretty overwhelming. And so there are some conversations." With the multiverse saga in full swing, Marvel Studios has shown that it has no problem bringing back pre-MCU actors like Grammer in the same role. Recently, Deadpool and Wolverine returned, featured. Okay, yeah. I don't like the conclusions that this article is drawing. It doesn't mean anything. Like there's a whole reason they brought back the Fox characters that work within that context. And maybe they could do the same in future contexts, but I don't like to get ahead of myself. So excuse me. So yeah, this article is really just say it's possible he shows up again. There's also a rumor. What the? Sorry. My browser is being browserish. So, this isn't a rumor, I don't think. It says rumor. I don't think it's rumor. So essentially, Knull will be in Venom 3, Venom: The Last Dance. The trailer dropped this past week, and Knull is in the trailer, and Knull is essentially like the god of the symbiotes, right? Like he created the symbiotes. And I'll see what the article says. So, with the inclusion of Knull in the trailer, Sony has teased the introduction of the possible big bad of their universe. However, a different rumor has been circulating widely. It suggests that his appearance might not just be limited to Tom Hardy's Venom 3, but go beyond it. Will fans get the chance? Oh, Spider-Man 4. Oh, I don't know about that. We'll talk about. I don't care about the rumor. I care about Knull. That's all I want to talk about. So, according to the description of Knull in Marvel Comics, he is the creator of all the symbiotes. He is also the wielder of the Black Necro sword. Fans last saw it appear in Thor: Love and Thunder, used by Gore the God Butcher to slay gods. However, the appearance of Knull in Venom 3's trailer has also instilled fear in the hearts of many fans. They also wonder whether he will be used to his potential. Probably not. As per Cosmic Circus, in a recent session by Alex Perez called What I've Heard, he revealed that Knull is even more fierce than Thanos. The latter was the big bad of MCU's Infinity Saga, thus his accurate portrayal is essential for Sony to execute. I have no faith in Sony's ability to execute, so this is where the rumor comes from that he might be in Spider-Man 4. We'll get to some Spider-Man 4 stuff in a second. Before that, fun follow-up about Beau DeMayo. Not about his drama with Marvel, but he did speak about the original plans for Doctor Strange 2, and obviously he's also he's shading a bit, shading Marvel a bit, but it's not about their issues with each other. So apparently, Elizabeth Olsen, Scarlet Witch, was not originally planned to be the main villain of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. X-Men 97 creator Beau DeMayo recently confirmed a rumor from Scooper My Time to Shine Hello that outlined what the original story for the Doctor Strange sequel was before Michael Waldron came aboard and rewrote the screenplay. In a post on X, DeMayo wrote that the OG drafts of Multiverse of Madness did the Scarlet Witch quote-unquote justice, revealing that the sequel would have opened with Wanda recovering with Strange after Westview, which was depicted in WandaVision, and, quote, feeling bad about what she did. She helps him, Wong, and Chavez, who she tutors, beat Nightmare across the multiverse, where she also sees her variants happy with her kids, unquote. DeMayo continued, still, Wanda resists, and she, not Chavez, helps Strange save the day against Nightmare, who turns out to be a Darkhold corrupted Strange variant. Also, she used her experiences in WandaVision to warn Chavez about abusing her power. Only after saving the day, unable to resist finding a multiverse where she can be with her kids, does Wanda, sobbing, break from Strange and accidentally beheads Wong, who tries to stop her from fleeing into the multiverse. That was the film's cliffhanger, which I don't like cliffhangers, I think are stupid. DeMayo added that the original plan, quote, made far more sense and featured a Wanda who was torn up by guilt in classic comic book fashion and keeps apologizing to Strange as she vanishes and leaves him with his dead friend's body. DeMayo's X-Post revealed a radically different Doctor Strange sequel, with the Scarlet Witch only making a villainous turn at the end of the movie instead of right at the beginning. The original Multiverse of Madness plan also ended with the accidental death of Wong, who has become a fan favorite character in the MCU, largely due to his appearance in the Disney Plus series She-Hulk Attorney at Law. Had Marvel followed through with this original plan for Doctor Strange 2, Wong likely would not have made those appearances. It remains to be seen what the future holds for Doctor Strange, Wong, America Chavez, and Scarlet Witch, the latter of whom is currently dead in the MCU, allegedly. Benedict Cumberbatch has hinted that he will reprise his role as Doctor Strange in Avengers Doomsday, which reportedly begins filming in 2025. However, Marvel Studios has not yet officially announced the cast for Doomsday beyond RDJ as Doctor Doom. So, we could all, in hindsight, say that maybe would have been a better film or something, right? The thing is, if Bo DeMaio wasn't having these issues with Disney, he probably wouldn't have come out and said anything like this. The reality is, there are early drafts, like he mentions the OG drafts. There are early drafts of almost all these movies that are completely different. Whether they're better or worse, that nobody can say. It's just, this is how writing processes go. You don't write the script initially and then it becomes the movie. Like, that's very, very rare if that ever happens. So yeah, it sounds like it'd be good. It sounds like maybe it would have been better, but that's easy to say now, right? It's easy to say now. So, and finally, for news, because I'm going to talk about something after news. I'm going to talk about something after. I know I harp on and on and on about Rings of Power, but I do have something else to say. It's kind of something I've said before, but I want to. I feel like I have a better way to convey it. Anyway, so Spider-Man 4 taps Shang-Chi's destined Daniel Cretton to direct. So he made his directorial debut in 2013 with I Am Not a Hipster. Following that, he made 2013's Short-Term 12, 2017's The Glass Castle, and 2019's Just Mercy, before he was then hired to helm 2021 Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Now, per The Hollywood Reporter, Cretton will direct the fourth film in the Tom Holland-led Marvel Spider-Man series. All three of the previous MCU Spider-Man solo movies were directed by John Watts, whose new movie with Brad Pitt and George Clooney, Wolves, will be released later this year. Cretton had previously been tapped to direct Avengers: The Kang Dynasty for Marvel Studios, following his work on Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings. However, Cretton stepped away from the project in November 2023. Kang actor Jonathan Majors was fired by Marvel not long after that, and the movie, which is now being directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, has been retitled Avengers: Doomsday. Additionally, Cretton co-created the upcoming Marvel Wonder Man series starring Yahya Abdul-Mateen II with Andrew Guest, while a sequel to Shang-Chi is also in the works. What else do we know about Marvel Spider-Man 4? Plot details for Spider-Man 4 remain under wraps at the time. Script is being written by Chris McKenna and Eric Summers, while Feige and Pascal will serve as producers. Sources say that Spider-Man 4 is running, not crawling, full steam ahead, and will shoot early next year. So, depending whether or not you like Shang-Chi, which I did, this is good or bad news. But the questions remain, right? First of all, the thing that people will immediately jump to is, well, this guy did Shang-Chi, so maybe Shang-Chi should be in this movie. Who knows if that's the right or wrong choice? That's just what people jump to. And the second thing that it leads you to question is, if this guy is doing Spider-Man 4, which is filming now, what's going to happen with Shang-Chi 2? Are they going to get a new director? Or are they going to have him do Shang-Chi 2, which means that the movie won't be out for like another 5 years or something? Yeah, I think it leaves a lot of questions. And there haven't been any real promising updates on Shang-Chi 2. All the updates have been pretty, like, not disappointing, but, like, discouraging. Like, nobody knows what's going on with that, if it's going to ever happen or what. So, those are the questions. But we'll see what happens with Spider-Man 4. Hopefully it's bussin'. No, I'm just kidding. Hopefully it's really good. So that's really like the main points of the news. I'm pretty sure there's nothing else major that I'm missing. I don't think there is. But that brings me to the Rings of Power. So if you don't know about it or don't care about it, then you don't have to stick around. But no spoilers or anything. It's just a lot of the reaction I see to the Rings of Power is wild. And I'm not saying like it's great, it's the best thing ever, it's amazing, whatever. Like, I don't actually like care. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's great that people like it. I think it's fine that people dislike it. But inherently there are people who have issues with it, and then kind of hide behind other things to justify their positions. One of which is Tolkien would have hated this, right? Like, this is a frequent thing. Oh, Tolkien would blah 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 blah. And the thing is, like, I find it odd that people want to speak for Tolkien or say, you know, when it comes to the diversity amongst elves or dwarves or whatever, and people are like, well, Tolkien didn't describe the characters this way, and like, even if there were black elves, they wouldn't be with these elves. And I've seen a lot of people saying like, they're not racist or whatever, and in the same comments threads you see a bunch of people who are racist and nobody calls them out. Like people saying, oh, they went from good elves to hood elves, and I'm just like, come on, brother. And nobody says anything. And these are the comment sections that like all the hate is in, right? Like, and you can't conflate those two things, but like you would think if they're not racist, like they would stop and say, hey man, like come on. Like there are legitimate reasons to dislike the series and just like legitimate critiques you could have of it. My issue does come from though when people say, well, Tolkien would have hated this and Tolkien didn't describe him this way and whatever. And the thing is, two things can be true at once. And one of the things that is true is if Tolkien was alive today and the show was out, he almost assuredly would not enjoy it. He would almost assuredly dislike the show. That being said, he would also find it, I imagine, quite tiring that fans are arguing amongst each other about the race of elves and dwarves, like the color of the characters on screen. I think one of the things for me is we should be able to read a text and not need to know anything about the author to draw any conclusions about it, right? Like the text should be the Bible pretty much. Like that's what all your conclusions should be based off of. And sure, there are descriptions of characters in this text that are different than what you see on the screen. But hold on a second. But at the same time, like there's no reason to need to know any biographical details about an author. So when people say Tolkien would have hated this, well, it shouldn't matter like what the writer or the creator of something would have thought. Like you should come to your own conclusions, but you should also not weaponize that to then turn around and say that like something is inherently bad. And one of the things that that Tolkien wrote in the foreword to The Fellowship of the Ring is about allegory. I want to read the quote because I think it is important to kind of like understand like what Tolkien was saying in the foreword, because pretty much he's saying what I'm saying. Like, don't take my work and say it's this. Like, you can apply it to things, but you can't say that I wrote it as this, which people frequently do. They say, well, The Lord of the Rings is clearly this, like, story about, Eastern European blah, blah, blah. And no, not Eastern European, sorry, but, like, that all these weird things that people want to draw from. So one of them is here. So he says, Lord of the Rings has been read by many people since it finally appeared in print, and I should like to say something here with reference to the many opinions or guesses that I've received or read concerning the motives and meanings of the tale. The prime motive was the desire of a tale teller to try his hand at a really long story that would hold the attention of readers, amuse them, delight them, and at times maybe excite them or deeply move them. As a guide, I had only my own feelings for what is appealing or moving, and for many the guide was inevitably often at fault. Some who have read the book, or at any rate have reviewed it, have found it boring, absurd, or contemptible, and I have no cause to complain since I have similar opinions of their works or of the kinds of writing that they evidently prefer. But even from the points of view of many who have enjoyed my story, there is much that fails to please. It is perhaps not possible in a long tale to please everybody at all points, nor to displease everybody at the same points. For I find from the letters that I have received that the passages or chapters that are to some a blemish are all by others specially approved. The most critical reader of all, myself, now finds many defects, minor and major, but being fortunately under no obligation either to review the book or to write it again, he will pass over these in silence, except one that has been noted by others. The book is too short. He continues, as for any inner meaning or message, it has in the intention of the author none. It is neither allegorical nor topical. As the story grew, it put down roots into the past and threw out unexpected branches, but its main theme was settled from the outset by the inevitable choice of the ring as a link between it and The Hobbit. The crucial chapter, The Shadow of the Past, is one of the oldest parts of the tale. It was written long before the foreshadow of 1939 had yet become a threat of inevitable disaster, and from that point, the story would have developed along essentially the same lines if that disaster had been averted. Its sources are things long before in my mind, or in some cases already written, and little or nothing in the war that began in 1939 or its sequels modified it. So essentially, a lot of people said that The Lord of the Rings was an allegory for World War II, and he's saying, nope, it is not. He says, the real war does not resemble the legendary war in its process or its conclusion. If it had inspired or directed that development of the legend, then certainly the ring would have been seized and used against Sauron. He would not have been annihilated but enslaved, and Barad-dûr would not have been destroyed but occupied. Saruman, failing to get possession of the ring, would, in the confusion and treacheries of the time, have found in Mordor the missing links in his own researches into ring lore, and before long he would have made a great ring of his own, with which to challenge the self-styled ruler of Middle-earth. In that conflict, both sides would have held hobbits in hatred and contempt. They would not long have survived, even as slaves. Other arrangements could be devised according to the tastes or views of those who like allegory or topical reference, but I cordially dislike allegory in all of its manifestations, and always have done so since I grew old and weary enough to detect its presence. I much prefer history, true or feigned, with its varied applicability to the thought and experience of readers. I think that many confuse applicability with allegory, but the one resides in the freedom of the reader and the other in the purposed domination of the author. He is telling you, do not take my works and say, I wrote this as this. My works, you don't say, Tolkien wrote The Lord of the Rings as an allegory for England and the Norman invasion and World War II. No, what he's saying is you can read it, and in your experience you can say, this reminds me of this, this is applicable to this, but you can't then dictate to everybody else that that is what Tolkien wrote. And my whole point with reading all of this is just to say that, because in all these comment sections, this is all you see. Tolkien's intention was this. Tolkien's intention was that. Tolkien wrote books about people coming together to fight true evil. And you know what we're doing? We're sitting in comment sections, fighting with each other, dividing amongst ourselves, because of the color of a character on a fucking screen. Do you think Tolkien would have approved that? He would have been all for that? I don't think so. I don't think Tolkien would be like, guys, this is okay for you to, because they're ruining my lore because there are black elves. He wouldn't. I promise you, Tolkien would not have cared about that. He would have hated the show. I don't think he would care that they made different races amongst elves and dwarves. Like, his whole, the point of his stories is not division. And people frequently take things he says out of context to apply to weird things. Like, we're not all Tolkien scholars. We're not all fucking genius, fucking literary experts, guys. If you watch The Rings of Power and your immersion is broken because of the color of the characters on the screen, sure, okay. Don't watch it then, because you can't get into it. You can't, invest belief into something where your immersion is broken because of that. But then don't say that everyone else, it's an insult to Tolkien, and if you like it, you hate Tolkien and all this stuff and whatever, because it's just, who fucking cares at the end of the day? Like, there are things in the show that really annoy me, that really bother me, because they're different than the lore, or because there's just poor narratives within the show. I don't love the show. I like some of the episodes. I very much dislike some of the episodes. I very much dislike a lot of the characterizations of well-known characters. But I I don't watch it and go, oh man, that black dwarf, man, that would never happen. I can't get into this. This doesn't make sense to me. I think the haircuts break immersion more than the color of the characters on the screen. Like Celebrimbor and Elrond having short hair is a little more jarring than somebody of color being an elf. Like, I don't know. That's just how I feel about it. That's my take on it, and you can disagree, and that's okay. Just like what Tolkien says, a lot of people hated his works too, and they can have their opinion, and they can hate his works, and he might hate their works too. It's whatever. Like, that's how the world works. People are allowed to think differently, and that's a good thing that people think differently. I disagree with people who have an issue with elves and dwarves, being white and black and having all these different actors play them that people think they should all be white or whatever. I think that's a stupid thing. I think that's a stupid take. But they're allowed to have it, and I'm not going to say that they're an awful person, and I don't even think most of them are racist, but there definitely are people who are racist who are hiding behind the fact that, Tolkien wrote it this way, so blah 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 blah. Like, there are people that hide behind that to say hood elves, which is just fucked. That's like, you could say whatever you want. You could say it's funny or whatever, but that is indicative of racism to me. So anyway, people can be people. People can have their own thoughts and opinions, and I'm just here to share mine. So if you agree or disagree, you can tell me. I don't mind being disagreed with. So anyway, that's it. No more news, no more rants, and we'll be back next week. Bye. Hold on, I have to click the button. I said bye, but I have to click the button. Bye.